1/3 of the EU is affected by water scarcity. Water pollution and wastewater are also major concerns, which are being addressed at this water purifying unit. Climate change and high demand of water for economic use require investment and better implementation of legislation. To try and address all the above, the European Commission has released a new water resilience strategy. Let's find out more on EU Decoded.
Only 37% of the EU's surface waters have a good ecological status, and only 29% have a good chemical status. The continent is the fastest warming region in the world due to climate change, which has increased the number of water-related natural disasters. Currently, 30% of the EU suffers from water scarcity due to prolonged droughts. Meanwhile, devastating floods cost €325 billion in damage between 1980 and 2023. The European Water Resilience Strategy aims to reduce water pollution, prevent waste, and make water accessible to all.
With this strategy, the European Commission promises to help member states better implement the 2000 Water Framework Directive and 3 related laws. Let's hear what Europeans think about the public management of this precious common good.
Η ενημέρωση μπορεί να δουλέψει πάρα πολύ όσον αφορά την κατανάλωση.
Κάθε χρονιά σωνόμαστε, μπορούμε να πούμε, από 1-2 βροχές το καλοκαίρι. Άμα δεν υπάρχουν αυτές, θα αντιμετωπίσουμε σίγουρα πρόβλημα και υπάρχει μεγάλη πιθανότητα να καεί ένα μεγάλο ποσοστό της καλλιέργειάς μας.
Eu espero que os meus netos ainda tenham suficiente água potável e água doce para conseguir viver.
Portanto, acho que tem a ver com o nível da poluição e mais, se calhar, gerir a poluição que existe na água e falar também com as pessoas que tratam da água, com essas empresas.
Euronews reporter Amandine S. will help us decode this issue. One of the main topics that the European Commission wants to address is water pollution, particularly with chemicals called PFAS or forever pollutants. What is at stake?
So PFAS are substances dubbed forever pollutants because they don't easily break down, so they tend to accumulate over time in the environment. And the problem is that research has shown that exposure to certain types of PFAS causes serious health problems. So the Commission is planning to launch a public-private partnership to support innovation to clean up pollution from PFAS and other chemicals. The polluter pays principle will be applied, so it means that public funding would be used only for the sites where it has not been possible to identify who is responsible for the pollution.
Industry and agriculture are 2 sectors that use a lot of fresh water and also contribute to water pollution with chemicals. So will the strategy address those problems?
So when it comes to water quantity, the Commission is calling member states to improve water efficiency by at least 10% by 2030. So for instance, in the agriculture sector, water efficiency could be improved through precision farming, drip irrigation, water reuse, or by using more climate-resistant crops according to the strategy. And when it comes to the industry, the Commission is, for instance, looking at the water consumption of data centers, and it's also planning to launch another public-private partnership to develop innovative methods for dry cooling.
NGOs and Europe's Green Party say that this strategy is far from giving concrete answers to the problems. What are they suggesting to be done?
So it's important to keep in mind that the Greens and some NGOs have criticized this strategy for lacking clear legal requirements since it is non-binding and for not providing dedicated funding. So that's one point. Second, they are stressing that it fails to tackle pollution at source. So they are calling for strict management of fertilizers and chemicals.
According to the European Commission, around €55 billion is spent on water investments across Europe, but there's an annual gap of €23 billion to solve the problems. To address this gap, the EU's executive will allocate a larger share of the cohesion funds, which are intended for less wealthy regions, to water management. In addition, the European Investment Bank will launch a new program. €15 billion will be available over the period between 2025 and 2027, and it aims to attract a further €25 billion from commercial investors.
Our guest is Hildegard Bentele from Centre-Right EPP Group, who shares the MEP Water Group at the European Parliament. Welcome to Euronews. One of the few concrete aspects of the European water resilience strategy is increasing investment through the cohesion funds and the European Investment Bank. Will that money be enough?
Well, we'll see, because the negotiations for the budget have just started. So it's important to have the priorities here. And everybody knows about the emergency and about the needs of investment into the sector. We have the figures, so we can react with the budget and better use, as you said, the cohesion policy, because we have seen that funds have not been
efficiency by 10% by 2030, but there is not a roadmap or an implementation mechanism foreseen. So isn't this just good intentions?
It is a good intention, and it's also, I would say, a little bit modest, because 10% is not a lot, but at least it's on the agenda. And I think we can do more also, for example, through public procurement. If we prescribe that water efficient technologies have to be used, we have to take it serious, because it's the cheapest way to save money is to become more efficient. But first of all, we have to become more transparent, because people don't know how much water they waste, how much water they use in their households.
Shouldn't also more concrete measures be foreseen, and even sanctions for less proactive member states in terms of preventing and recovering from water-related disasters, whether droughts or floods?
We have, for example, the Water Framework Directive, and this is legislation. If you do not comply with legislation, we could sanction there, because if member states don't meet the targets of legislation, they should be sanctions. And we have a backlog. We haven't seen a lot of progress in the last 20 years, so we have to become faster. And I would also see that the Commission is getting more rigid on that in the coming years, also with the strategy.
The European Commission is focusing on improving infrastructure and technological innovation, but environmentalists say that we need to protect nature more. They suggest that water management should include protection of moors and wetlands, as well as reducing the use of fertilizers and pesticides. EU Decoded will continue to follow water protection efforts in Europe. Stay tuned.